people must just be aware of. There's something called a trial court, and there's other kinds of courts. Like the Constitutional Court is not a trial court. So, and the fundamental difference is that in a trial court, like you get a whole range of things in that court. You get a right to call witnesses, your right to remain silent, all kinds of things apply there. That's where proper justice happens. And if you're not happy with that, then you can go to the Supreme Court of Appeal up until you come to the Constitutional Court. But if a case skips all those steps and starts at the last point where it should be ending, what happens to all the things that should have happened in the lower courts? So those things don't happen to you. So therefore, you're being processed. You're actually a half-baked product, as it were, because you have not been processed through the justice system as envisaged in the Constitution. This is the tragedy that we're talking about. That if you decided, for instance, not to go to the Constitutional Court or whatever, Justice Jaffa was very clear to say when cases like that happen, there is a remedy for that. That is not punitive. You do what he called a coercive committer, as it were. So in other words, there should have been something that had been put there to say maybe give him an ultimatum of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, failing which this happens and all of that. That's a kind of a judgment that was supposed to have accrued in this case. But the justices of our country decided for President Zuma that no, if we do that, if we're doing it this way, in terms of his past experience, he's likely to do this. They decided for him. And after having decided for him, they decided that, okay, we're going to do this, he's going to do this, and therefore, because he's going to do this, this is the outcome that must happen, as it were. So you have that situation here. That can't be justice. And by the way, JJ talks about this commission, and they keep making this point, that this commission, its fundamentals in the first place are not in place. The constitution of this country, the supreme law of the land, is very clear about how this commission should have been set up in the first place. No. And it's another point that as a foundation we have a problem with. That if something is messed up at a foundational level, then that thing is messed up. This commission should have been appointed by President Zuma, should have been set up by President Zuma, but instead he played a clerical role. They had a 50-50 joint venture with Justice Mogoeng, where he selected the judge on the recommendations of Chulima Donsela. Yeah. And the recommendation was that we shall give President Zuma a list of one, and he can't move from that. And therefore, President Zuma just did a clerical function on this thing. So therefore, even at a foundational level, this commission was not set up properly, as it were. Even in its execution of its role, it was meant to be doing the issues around state capture and all of that, where President Zuma was accused of having abdicated his executive authority. So what this commission should have done is to have summoned the entire executive to go and account in terms of how they experienced President Zuma as somebody who, for lack of a better word, had abdicated his responsibility and had created a puppet state, if you like, where strings are pulled elsewhere. The whole executive should have been there to go and account whether were they able to run their departments as per the mandates of the law, as it were. All 34 ministers should have been there, but they were not there. All that has happened in that commission, truth be told, is just to unravel an important thing, which is corruption. But even in that instance, we've got institutions that are better placed to deal with that issues of corruption, because even what you see, there are some people that have got similar kind of charges. Others are persecuted, others are left scot-free. So even the criminality that is unearthed there is not treated uniformly, as it were. That's why that thing, all those criminal cases in our view, they should just be taken to the NPA. NPA must deal with criminality, as it were. The star witnesses that were there were meant to go and give a star witness about state capture. They went there, and there were three key star witnesses as I sit down. There were three key star witnesses. The first one was Feiki Mento, who went there and wasted a lot of our time, spent 3 days there describing all kinds of perpendicular couches and all kinds of things, instead of coming up with evidence for the corruption that he was talking about. This is the essence of what has created hatred for President Zuma, because people said he's corrupt and all of that, and then when they were invited to come and give evidence, they all failed. Feiki Mento went there, and even the aeroplanes that she said took her from Cape Town to OR Tambo, there were no trace of that. The AXA went, and the SAA tried everything under the sun to try and get a record of that. They couldn't get so at the end, she ended up even withdrawing her affidavit after she had messed up President Zuma's name. Then enters Temba Masel. He also makes all kinds of allegations about President Zuma having said, go and help these Gupta brothers. I don't know what is corrupt about that statement, by the way, because as a DG, you're the admin officer, you're the head of administration, you are supposed to help people. President Zuma never said to him, break the laws, do everything possible, break the laws and all of that to make them get whatever. You know, he goes and makes all these kinds of things and creates an impression that President Zuma was corrupt by saying he must help people. Absolute nonsense. No such a thing. He makes allegations that he refused with a 600 million rand budget, when in fact we should tell South Africa that as a CEO of GCIS, you've got no final say on the advertising spend of government money. But he creates the impression that he refused. He refused nothing. He had no 600 to refuse with. In the first place, GCIS budget, even as we speak, is not even 600 million. But Temba, he says he had 600 million that he refused with, and all of that, and therefore he must be touted as a hero. Absolute nonsense. No such a thing. Then we move on to Pravin Gordhan. He also made all kinds of statements about corruption and all of that, and he was taken up to CNN Hard Talk, Aman Poor. That's a very good journalist that South African journalists must actually learn from. He asked him a very direct question. He says, Mr. Gordhan, do you have information that President Zuma is corrupt? And the answer was no. Yeah. But there are people talk and all of that. So a lot of the issues that have been put under President Zuma's head to characterize him as a corrupt man, as we sit here and now, there's been not even a shred of evidence to corroborate all those allegations that they have made. So this journalist talks about the 600 million and all of that, and next thing he doesn't even know which of the brothers gave this to him. The hawks ran after him for months on end, trying to get him to make a statement.
Can we come in and engage you?
So all these people that have been making these allegations have not been to the commissions to back them up. Yeah. But President Zuma today is treated with disdain because a narrative of a corrupt old man has been put. A narrative of somebody that is an outlaw had been solidified in the people's heads. And what we have here is an innocent man, a 79-year-old man that is now going to go to jail for a crime he did not commit, somebody that is going to go to detention without a trial. What a travesty of justice.
Shaham, if I may, I mean, I hear you, Mzwanele. I wish I was hearing all these arguments for the first time. The reality is, we set up a state capture commission. President Zuma set it up himself, and his first address to the nation when setting it up was to call on all of us, right, to respect it, to go there, to give our information, to give our perspective. And he was actually doing it with glee. In Parliament, he said that people who set up this commission will regret. This is not the words of a man who thought that this commission was set up badly. In fact, I like what Tulima Donzela said recently, that in fact, if it's true that President Zuma and Zondo were friends, was hoping that that relationship will come in his favor in as far as that commission is concerned. I cannot disagree with that sentiment when I listen to you. Because how do you wait for 3 years? How do you wait for R1 billion to be spent and then say, oh, by the way, you have been off on a wrong tangent. Me as President Zuma, I think that you should throw away that R1 billion and because this commission was set up wrongly from the start. I mean, that's as illogical as it can get. Let's be clear about it. Let's be clear, Mzwanele, that you've quoted 4 or 5 witnesses. In any commission of inquiry, there will be a percent of witnesses who are declared unreliable, who are declared not so useful for the commission, who won't even be quoted in the final report. It happens in every commission. It's not unique to this particular commission. So to quote 5 witnesses out of 300 and rubbish them and then say Zuma is innocent must be the most ridiculous thing that we can. It matters not because there are 40 witnesses who implicated Jacob Zuma. You quote 3 or 4. Who implicated him. The Guptas have run away. No, keep quiet and let me finish. No, let me finish. Muzwane, we gave you 15 minutes to talk. Can you just respect the conversation, right? I know that you can do that. Just respect the conversation. You are saying here, you want the viewers to believe that out of 300 witnesses who testified at the commission, out of 40 who implicated Jacob Zuma directly, out of the Guptas running away, they must be Jews that Jacob Zuma is innocent. And you're talking to us as if we were not here when these things were happening. We were here. We know that Jacob Zuma sold the family silver to the Guptas. They are not here to account. They have been chased by Interpol around the world so that they can come and tell us how they managed to strike 60 billion rands of the fiscus, right, under our noses here, enabled by the likes of Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma has refused the chance to come and answer truthfully in front of that commission. He went to that commission and for the whole week, he told us about all sorts of stories about spies and conspiracy theories, and half of the time he said he doesn't remember anything, right? Let me tell you something about your legal strategy. Your previous legal counsel, Advocate Sikakan, said to the judge, I will appeal you until kingdom come. So he actually told the judge what they were intending to do. They were hoping that the judge was going to go to Protea Magistrate Court, be appealed to the Bloemfontein, and it would be the time of the commission would have been over. Everybody realizes, right, that we may not like it, but everybody realizes that Zondo are not going to go to 5 courts and fall into the trap of a Zuma who doesn't want his day in court. We all know that, right? But set that aside. At the end of the day, you can't tell me that it's correct for us to wait for 3 years and then come and throw away R1 billion into the dustbin and then not get the truth. If it was truthful, what Zuma is saying about this whole commission, being tainted by this relationship with Zondo, he should have raised that on the month 1 of the commission, on the year 1 of the. He waited 3 years. Zondo wrote him 26 letters to appear, and he found a way of not appearing. I'm sorry, but it seems like he brought all of this onto himself. The Constitutional Court, yes, is not a trial court, but the Constitution does provide for contempt of court. Right? Let's forget about all the other things. You and I cannot defy courts and think it's okay. Our justice system is structured in such a way that you are given every opportunity to state your case at every court. And this is what happened. You are giving us the impression that they just woke up one day and sentenced Zuma to 15 months. It didn't happen like that. Let's be honest about it. He himself admits in his papers that he received bad legal advice. That for me is the bottom line. Chahan, I think honestly, we've had all sides here, and I'm sure this debate will carry on. I respect Muzwanele
Don't close it.
Muzwane,
Don't close it without giving me a chance to respond.
I respect Muzwanele's own views about this, but frankly, we are done here. The reality is
No.
the constitution of this country has to be respected
I have to be
by
given a
all
chance
of
to
us.
respond.
We all have to be equal before the law, even if we may have sympathies for each other. And what Zuma has done here was to essentially show the middle finger to the constitution, show the middle finger to his oath of office that he took twice. That's why the Constitutional Court had to ensure that they go out of their way to send the message. Because if you are a president of a country, there's a higher standard that's expected of you. You can't say that it doesn't matter that Jacob Zuma took an oath as an MEC, as a president twice, and still cook a snoop at the Constitution. It cannot happen. We are all equal before the law, and unfortunately, it had to come to this. The ANC's NEC itself has washed its hands of his own comrade. Right? Is it because they don't like Jacob Zuma that much that they have said that let the law take its course? No. It's about the fact that we have to make a choice at this point. We have to make a choice as a country to even reach our favorite people to say, unfortunately, we have to be on the side of implementing the rule of law, not on the side of political patronage. Thank you, Shahan.
Mzwanele, I'm going to give you a chance to respond, but hold on before you go. Like you said, how our journalists should learn from international journalists. Can I please ask you to learn from spokespeople as well and keep it a bit short? So I'm going to give you 4 minutes.
No. You see now, that's exactly the problem that we have with you guys. You let JJ waffle up and down. After he has done all his waffle, you want to limit him. And you didn't limit his waffle.
Go ahead. You're wasting your own time.
The first thing that he says, Advocate Kakanes said you will appeal, you appeal the commission. I mean, that's an insult to an advocate that the senior counsel that knows that a commission like this you review. It's important, the choice of words, because it's got serious implications. Kakana said he was going to review, not appeal. And now JJ introduces magistrates' courts just to sensationalize the thing. This is the typical problem with media, that you take little information that you know very little about, you blow it out of proportions incorrectly. That's the first point. The second point, he makes a proposition here that seeks to suggest that President Zuma woke up 3 years later. What a lot of nonsense. President Zuma raised this issue of the wrongness of this commission, and he took the matter to court and all that. The only problem was when the Ramaphosa administration came in and took that matter off the roll because President Zuma, they could not continue to sustain it and continue to fund it, and that's why this thing fell off. So it's not like he just woke up now. This is the propaganda that has been done on against President Zuma's name, unchallenged, as it were. And then he carries on to talk about 300 witnesses, but he does not even remember one that has said anything of substance. This is the problem, that the media in this country, with people like JJ in the forefront, they talk a lot of waffle, they don't substantiate anything. It's a very simple thing. He must say X, Y, and Z said this, and here was evidence that was put. All we had there, in fact, I only mentioned 5, or whatever, because those are the ones that time allowed for. I can carry on to the others as well, if you would permit me. I can tell you now, there is not one person there that said anything of substance, anything that you could corroborate that implicates President Zuma. They all say all kinds of things, but when you say to them, right, give us evidence. In fact, Judge Zondo has been very good on that part, to say, can people please bring evidence to the things that they talk about? They don't bring evidence. And so to then say President Zuma is guilty and all of that, without substantiating that, it's totally incorrect. For the past 3 years that have been there, and all of that, if there is all these monies that have been lost, the quick question that must be asked is, where are the institutions of this country? Where part of that should have happened in that commission, by the way, the Reserve Bank. I mean, how do you take 60 billion out of the country without the Reserve Bank knowing about it? How did that happen? Where was Speaker when all of this happened? So, and we want these answers. If Guptas have done what they are purported to have done, they must be brought to justice, and the law must take its course. And it's a pity now that even this Interpol that JJ is talking about, we've just seen some retraction from the NPA to say, no, that was not correctly said and all of that. But this is what happens in our media. There are things that just get blown out of proportion, and the issue of quality of information from media is a problem. I think media must try and improve on the quality of information. What you say to people must be fact-checked before you tell people lies. So we're sitting here with the President Zuma that has been created as this monster that does not want to, that thinks is above the law, and in fact, and instead, the truth be told, and the truth is that President Zuma is treated with disdain by a whole range of institutions. He's not given all his rights. His rights get taken away, and I must close by saying that in 2021, to have a 79-year-old detained without trial in a constitutional democracy is scandalous. To have a thing like that, it's quite scandalous. 2021, constitutional democracy under a black-led ANC government. You have one of the freedom fighters of this country that is incarcerated for 15 months not for killing anyone, purely because he wanted justice, he wanted neutrality, he wanted fairness, and that has been morphed into all kinds of other things. And now tonight he's sleeping in some cold place, a 79-year-old. How cruel can people get for somebody that all he wanted was fairness, was neutrality? That's the only thing that he wanted, and it has come to this. I think we should be ashamed of ourselves in this country. We should be ashamed that the constitution that people fought for is being used in a manner that incarcerates innocent people, incarcerate people without a fair trial. It's really scandalous what has happened in South Africa.
All right, are you done, Mzwanele? Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Mzwanele Mandi is from the Jacob Zuma Foundation, and of course JJ Tabane is one of the anchors at ENCA and political commentator. Such a nice heated debate to have at 12:30 in the morning, isn't it? Because the reality is Jacob Zuma is officially behind bars. The police ministry has just now issued a statement, and I'll read it to you. It says, the police ministry can confirm that